Welcome to Constructive Conversations, Building Canada Stories. I'm your host, George Affleck. Thanks for joining me as we dig into the foundations of Canada's construction industry, learning from the leaders and pioneers in the business. Today, I'm joined by Steve Zahm, the President and Chief Culture Officer for Procore Technologies. Steve's been at Procore for more than 17 years, and he's overseen growth and expansion of the business that provides construction management software on a global scale. Let's start the conversation now. Steve, thanks so much for joining me today on Constructive Conversations. I want to first start talking about and have you talk about Procore and what it does and how do you help construction companies? Really comes down to it.
Right. Well, Procore is the world's leading construction software company, and we help companies communicate and collaborate on their construction projects. Our mission at Procore is to connect everyone in construction on a global platform. And when we say everyone, we mean all members of a construction project team. So that's not only the general contractors, but also the specialty contractors, also known as subcontractors, as well as the facility owners. Those are the three main audiences that we connect, but also designers, engineers, even members of the public who might be involved in monitoring what's going on with a public-private partnership project, for example.
That's a lot of different inputs. I'm going to get into detail on that in a bit. But
Sure.
I first want to talk about where did you see the gap? How did you know that was an opportunity? And what sounds like quite a complex software solution?
Sure. Well, the gap actually in the needs of the construction industry go all the way back in time, but where it was seen at first was by Procore's CEO and founder, Tui Kortemanch, who grew up with a love of construction and then went into the technology business. And when he was charged with kind of coordinating the construction of his own home, he was amazed after being away from the construction industry while he was in tech to find just how manual everything still was in terms of construction. There was still so much communication by faxes, and things were written down on legal pads, and a sophisticated software was Microsoft Excel. So when Tui saw that all the way back in 2002, he started working on this platform that would become Procore in order to connect all those different parties that are necessarily involved on every construction project.
So you've got all these inputs, all these different people and their positions. What about the kinds of the benefits of the software for the people that you provide it for? Construction companies is still pretty broad. Can you narrow that down a bit more?
Well, really, our concentration has always been the construction employee who's out on the job site, the project job site. What we want to do, and our vision statement at Procore actually, is to improve the lives of everyone in construction. And we think if you look at where most people are in the industry, they're out there on the job site. They're doing the work every day. And we're trying to make it more efficient, at a higher level of quality, with less rework, and to make it safer. And if we can do those things, if we can provide the people out on the job site with a way to get the right information that they need to build their projects and do that in a timely and efficient way, that makes a huge impact in a positive way on the construction industry.
So you've got all these different people that are putting the information in, but like so much software, especially CRMs, and things like that, the information and then the quality of what comes out at the end is only as good as the information that's put in. And given that you have, as you've noted, all these different people, and a lot of them are offsite, they're not in an office space. Some are, but perhaps the end user, the person who finally takes the data information and uses it for something to track. But at the end of the day, you're asking for people who are out on site to enter this information in. How challenging is that, especially in education and getting the clients who use the software to really get their team motivated to put the information in?
Sure. Well, I would say that it used to be really challenging. And when I say used to be, remember that Procore has been around doing nothing but construction since 2002 when Tui started the company. And we thought that people would be able to get connected to the software via Wi-Fi. Well, Wi-Fi is only in a job site trailer, and a job site trailer isn't where the construction takes place. it wasn't until the advent of mobile devices, particularly smartphones, iPhone, Android, et cetera, as well as tablets, that Procore's usage really started to take off because we were delivering the functionality of the software to the people in the field. Now, you made a great point. If the software doesn't get used, then the data doesn't get collected and the value just isn't there for anyone on the software. So at Procore, we concentrate on making the software easy to learn, easy to use, no matter if you're someone that's just coming into the industry from graduating from high school or college, or if you're a seasoned professional that's been a construction superintendent and now you're in the tail end of your career, you should be able to pick up and use Procore on your phone or on your tablet as easily as you would with online shopping or banking or whatever it is you happen to do online.
You've got all this information that's now in the system. You're the end company, you're the CEO or the COO, and you've got all this data. What kind of impact are you seeing, or these companies seeing, when they switch over from using whatever various systems that they were using, or if they were relying on Excel or, handwritten notes or whatever? What kind of margins of improvement are you guys seeing, and have you seen over the years, and
Right.
what impact does that have on operations?
Remember that Procore's mission is to connect everyone in construction on a global platform. And that word platform is super important when it comes to data and the insights that you can get from that data. The history of construction software and applications that were designed to help people in construction, they tended to be what we call point solutions. They would do one thing okay, but they would create these data silos. So for example, you might have a piece of software that helps you keep a daily log of what happened on the job, but that software won't happen to speak to the scheduling software, which is yet another type of software, which in turn won't speak to the financial construction accounting software. And so if the data doesn't talk to each other, if it's siloed, then you're really not going to see those improvements. However, if you can have a daily log that picks up the task from the scheduling software and then says these delays may lead to project cost increases to the financial accounting software, now you're starting to see insights that go all across the construction project team. So what we're seeing are tremendous improvements in terms of reduced rework, so not having to do things over again, much smoother communication so that we can close out, for example, RFIs or requests for information. We can close out those in a fraction of the time from the way it used to be done, which was in the old days via fax, the old days when Procore was first started, and more recently just in standard email. By having a real process that knows where to send the communications and having sign-offs that are documented and dated and time-stamped, it leads to so much more consistent information and reliable information. Those things all taken together really improve the overall construction process.
I imagine the interface has changed a lot since the early 2000s, especially from a user's point of view. Experientially, what is that like for somebody? So to describe it for us today, obviously that you can go on the website and check it out, but can you describe when you enter this platform, what do you see? Obviously there's a phone, there's your iPad, there's your computer. Is it a different, what's the experience when you arrive at the site?
Well, the experience is it's interesting because with Procore's user base, about 60% of our users don't even buy the software themselves. Their companies don't buy the software. They're what we call collaborators. And that's one of the things that Procore has always focused on is communication and collaboration. And so you might say, well, who does buy the software? That usually it could be the general contractor, it could be the specialty contractor, it could be the facility owner, but whoever is paying for the use of Procore on a particular project, they can invite as many users as they want. We call them collaborators. Those collaborators are typically going to be invited via email to join a Procore project. And then they can open that up either in their web browser, they can open it up on a mobile app, on a phone or a tablet. And what they'll see is really, they'll see the items that they need to respond to, or they'll be able to access the information that helps them do their jobs. That information could be a project schedule. It could be a digital 3D set of plans called a building information management or a BIM file. It could be a 2D set of plans just for their trade if they're a specialty contractor. So when you ask about the experience, I can say on a global level for all users, it's easy, it's intuitive, it's fast to learn, it functions much like any other mobile app that you might pick up. But for any specific user, the experience is going to vary based upon what they need to contribute to the project. So there are a myriad of different specific experiences, but the overall principle is make it simple, make it easy.
We in marketing certainly, I would say we were quite often ahead of things when it comes to software and how we use it for marketing. And sales guys quite often are very good with this. And within the construction industry, we've talked a bit about the challenges, perhaps data entry and putting that information in. But as the industry evolves, and I've been speaking to a lot of people within the industry, but more of the construction and building side, not on the software side. And I've asked a question about where do you see things in 5 or 10 years? I mean, for you, how do you predict? How do you know how the evolution of the industry is going, and how do you adjust what you're doing for the industry?
Well, we kind of follow a rule that Procore has done since its inception, which really is listen to the customers, listen to the needs of the customers, see what issues that they face on repeatedly. And that's really served us well. I think that construction is undergoing this massive move to digitization, just as so many industries have had to deal with over the past year as we've been in this lockdown. But post-lockdown, I think that the trend to digitization is continuing. What we're also seeing is how data intensive construction is. And along with large amounts of data, then that's when you start talking about future trends such as machine learning or artificial intelligence that can look for patterns across massive amounts of data and then start to draw attention to those patterns because it's seen certain outcomes based upon that data having that same pattern. So this only becomes useful when you have a large amount of data to work with. And by having this global platform with so many different users from not only general contractors, but specialty contractors and facility owners, all contributing to the same data platform, that's where you get that crucial amount of data that starts to give contractors, owners, specialty contractors insight into how they can work better, how they can work with a higher level of quality, and how, most importantly, they can work more safely.
So literally everything from A to Z on the construction level. So you'll be able to, through AI, through learn technology, through this, how you drill a hole or how you put up a wall or how you do the foundation of a building will evolve because of the information that's being gathered?
Well, for example, you can start to see patterns. So if you have a nationwide construction company and you have different divisions and you start to see that there are certain projects that have a high number of change orders, then you might, relative to your other divisions, you might start looking at that and say, hey, what is it that is causing this outsized number of change orders? Is it the architecture firm? Is it the specialty contractors? Is it the superintendent that is on that job? That's a very low level type of analysis to do. But then things start to get more and more and more sophisticated so that you can start bringing seasonality. You can start bringing suppliers into the mix. There's all sorts of different examples. But really, the ability to draw those connections is going to rely on not only experienced operators, as it does today, but in the future, also some form of machine learning or artificial intelligence. We're not there yet, but we think that's where the industry is heading towards.
That would benefit certainly larger companies who are already building lots of stuff, but would it also benefit the small guys or startups who are just launching, small crews? They don't have access to a lot of information. Would this also be helpful to them and to inspire them to potentially look at this as a solution for them?
I think so, and not just because of the data that they would get on their projects, but we can also establish benchmarks. So we can establish benchmarks for a smaller general contractor, for example, because there's so much data in the system, we can say, here's your benchmark as compared to other companies of your approximate size in your general region. So that now we just start to give people targets to shoot for and to manage towards. And then what's also great about being part of the Procore ecosystem, as a customer, they can come to Procore's conferences, either webinars that we hold or Procore's annual user conference called Groundbreak, which is becoming a meeting place for people to learn about not only how do I use Procore, but how do I improve my business as a construction professional? So all of these things build upon one another, again, to kind of execute on this vision of improving the lives of everyone in construction.
So knowing, for example, this project that I'm doing based on the parameters that I put into the system should take this long or should cost this much. That will be something they'll be able to pull out of this based on historical evidence that might be inputted through multiple projects across the nation, if not the world.
Exactly.
That's okay. Very interesting. So you mentioned this actually in the past year, and obviously we've been through this challenge. But how is that actually? It's been a positive actually in some ways for a lot of companies like yours, because it's forced the evolution of what you're providing, in a quicker. It's just made people adopt and adapt much quicker. Have you found that as a company for your product?
Well, we found it on different levels. So one of the first things that Procore did was that we accelerated really our integrations between Procore and the video meeting applications such as Microsoft Teams or Zoom. And by offering those to our clients, they were able to start working with virtual work. Now, this is the construction industry. Construction doesn't take place at the back office. It takes place out on the job site. But just the ability to have the power of Procore on your phone or on your tablet has allowed people to either stagger their visits to the job site so they can keep professional distancing, or to allow them to accomplish many tasks away from the job site, or just to do meetings instead of in a small job site trailer or having to go to the job site to do those meetings. The ability to do it via Zoom or via Teams is something, and keep all those records in Procore. We've seen that be a big improvement. So I wouldn't say that construction's gone fully digital. It's not going to get there just in 1 year, but it was definitely an incentive for people to embrace forms of working that they may not have embraced for years, and instead they did it in months.
You've been in the company for almost 20 years, is that right? You said?
Little less, about 17, yeah.
17 years. You've seen a big evolution. What's made you most proud in the industry and what you're doing over the last 17 years?
I think if I look at what I'm most proud of about Procore is that it's become such a thought leader in construction, not only around technology and the way that we can use digitization to reduce waste and improve efficiency and quality and safety, but also that people are looking to Procore for thought leadership in areas on how do we use data, how do we use insight. So, for example, the Procore Construction Index that we work with the Association of General Contractors in the U.S., it is now providing leading indicators and reporting on job site activity all across the country. So we're being viewed, the data in Procore is being viewed as one of the definitive indicators of overall construction activity. We're also seeing Procore get recognized for a lot of our approaches to how we treat our employees and how we treat our partners and how we treat our customers. So making great strides in terms of driving diversity, inclusion, and belonging across not only Procore, but the entire construction industry has been something that I've been tremendously proud of. And I continue to be excited about Procore as a platform, not only for technology, but for a change in how the construction industry is perceived. This is a great industry. People in construction build our communities. They improve the world. Lots of people write about the world and they express their opinions about the world, But if you want to change the world, you have to build something. You have to build a university or a hospital or highways or mass transit, whatever it is that is going to lead us to a better tomorrow comes from construction. And being able to tell that story and tell it, most importantly, to the next generation of employees in the industry is something that Procore is helping to do. And I'm tremendously proud of that.
Well, on that note, Steve, I'm going to thank you for joining me on Constructive Conversations today.
Absolutely, George. Really enjoyed being here.
I'm George Affleck. Thanks for joining me at Constructive Conversations, Building Canada Stories, where we dig into the foundations of Canada's construction industry, learning from leaders and pioneers in the business.